Hey, I'm down here on a basement this morning wrapping up a trim job, and I haven't really done a lot of videos on trimming a basement. I've got some really old stuff I think on the YouTube channel where I did some base trim years ago, but the camera wasn't really the best, so I've got a lot of feedback from you guys that are watching my videos that I need to get a better camera, I need better sound, yada yada. So I'm redoing some of my older video stuff. So what I'm going to do this morning is I'm going to show you guys real quickly how to do outside and inside corners with your base trim. All right, the simple way to do it. I'll try to keep the video short. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 outside corners and 2 inside corners and show you how I do it. Now there's a lot of guys that do it completely different than I do. This is how I do it. This is how I like to do it. I've been doing it this way for 25 years or better on my basement projects. So let's get to it. All right, the first thing I'm going to show you here is the 2 outside corner areas that I'm going to do. And because I got 2 outside corners, they're going back into a wall. I'll also have 2 inside corners. Now, this is kind of a tricky one. It doesn't matter how long the runs of base trim are. The principles of these outside and inside corners are going to apply to any outside and inside corners. But let me show you what I got down here. We had a column when we were framing that we had to bump our wall out to. And I'll get down here and get a close shot of this for you. I just got these 2 like 1.5" outside corners. That's all they are, 1.5" out. All right, so they're not real long ones, but what I'm going to do to make the outside corners, I would do if these areas were 10 feet long. All right, so the first thing that I like to do is I like to cut a piece of trim a little bit longer, maybe 1 inch or 2 longer, or whatever you got laying around really, to use as the piece that I'm going to mark with my pencil. So let me show you what I'm going to do here. All right, I've got a piece of trim. It's about, I don't know, 6 inches long here. All right, and I just got the camera sitting on the floor. So what I'm going to do, there's straight cuts on both sides of this piece of trim. I'm just going to take it and I'm going to push it into the corner where I want the piece to go. And what I like to do is I like to take my hammer and tap the piece into the corner just a little bit. Don't slam it in there. Just kind of snug it in there. All right, and then if there's any gap over in the corner, maybe some drywall compound or something in the way, this tapping motion here will just make it tight in the corner. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil, my carpenter pencil, and on the back side of this piece, right down along this piece of corner bead here, I'm going to scribe the corner bead. So right here, I'm going to take my pencil and I'm just going to draw up the back side of my piece. You can see I made that line there. All right, now that's my cut line. I'm going to use that line over on the saw to manufacture my 45-degree angle. So let's take this piece over to the saw here. And today I'm using my DeWalt 10-inch compound sliding miter saw. And what I'm going to do now, that pencil line that I just put on there, I'm going to set my saw. I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to lay it down on a 45-degree angle. Now I can either lay it down to cut this and cut into my piece like this and put my long point on there like this, or I can keep the saw straight up, put it in there, and turn my saw on a 45, and I can make it this way. All right, this is the way probably most people are going to want to do it. They're going to want to cut down through there. But the problem with that is I can't see my line that's on the other side. All right, so I'm looking around the saw like this, trying to see the other side. All right, so because I don't want to do that, I like to keep mine on 0, and I like to lay my saw down. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run my blade down that line and cut my 45-degree angle on here. All right, I want to leave the line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out away from my line a little bit and work my way in so I don't cut it too short. All right, so there was my test cut. I still got to come back in about strong 16th, so I'm going to move my piece over a little bit and hit that again. Okay, you can see I left the line. All right, but now you can see you've got a piece of trim that's got a 45-degree angle on it. All right, and this piece, we're going to take it back over there now, and we're going to stick it in place, and we're going to test it out. And if I bring the camera over to the other side, and we do a close-up of that, you can see that my pencil line is still sticking out past the corner just a little tiny bit, and that's what I want to see. All right, I don't want to be short here. I'd rather be a hair longer than short on these outside corners on the inside of the angle. All right, so I'm going to say that's a good cut. All right, now what I'm going to do is come to the other side of this, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to grab another piece of base trim. All right, so we're going to take that same block of wood, stick it in the corner, and take my hammer and tap it in there. All right, snug it up there. And I'm going to take my pencil, and with my pencil, I'm going to go right up the corner bead again. All right, and I'm leaving that line on there. And that's my cut line again. So take it back over to the saw. All right, bring my blade down. I'm going to cut it a little long. About a 1/16 too much there. We'll slide it over a little bit, and we'll cut it again. Alright, so I left the line, test it out again, slide that in there, and if you look over here you can still see the line peeking out. Alright, so there's my two outside corners coming in from the wall. Now what I want to do is I'm going to cut the piece to connect the two 45s. Alright, and the way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to take these pieces back out for a second. I'm going to grab myself another piece of trim. All right, I got about a 2-foot piece of trim here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to just put that up against the wall and mark both sides. Now this is really tight here for me. If I had a longer corner, it'd be easier to draw up the back side. So I'm just going to mark the very tops where I can get my pencil in there. All right. And there are my wall lines right there. I'm going to go cut a 45 on each one of these. Now I couldn't get the whole way down because it was tight, so I'm just going to put my square on there and just extend them lines. All right, and we're going to take that over to the saw, and we're going to cut both of them 45s. All right, so I got a piece that looks like that now, with a 45 on each side. All right, I'll take it back over and take a look at that. Now with trimming, you know, it's a finesse thing sometimes. It's not a perfect science. Sometimes you got to go back to the saw a couple times. But I always like to cut things a little bit longer than shorter because I can always cut a little bit more off. Okay, that's not bad. Let's see if I can get that a little better for you. Right there. Okay, you can see how that fits. That's a good fit. All right, that side fits good. The other side's still a little bit long. Okay, I'm past my corner too much. So I'm going to take that back over to the saw and cut a little bit more off of that side. And we're going to check this out one more time here. Okay. That's not bad right there. Okay, what I'm going to be using here today is my DeWalt. All right, and this is a 20-volt DeWalt, 20-volt batteries, 18 gauge. All right, so inside here right now what I'm using is just 2-inch 18 gauge nails. No compressor needed. Put them in there, one's on a battery. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this up here. So what I do is I hit this trim. I don't nail into the detail on the top ever. I stay right below the detail about 1/4 of an inch, and I'll come up about a 1/2 inch on the bottom. All right, those are my nailing points for this type of trim. So on each side, we'll hit it high and low. Same with these little pieces. Just gonna hit it high and low. Hit it high and low. All right, that's your outside corners. And again, we're using a pencil. A lot of guys will say, well, you know, I could take my tape measure and stick it in there, and I could measure from the wall out to the corner and then go back to the saw and put that pencil line on the back by measuring it. But that just takes longer and it's not as accurate as just coming in there, putting your piece in and scribing up that corner bead with your pencil. That's how 90% of trim carpenters operate. They'll use their pencil wherever they can to mark on outside corners. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an inside corner. All right, so we got a blunt cut on this side of this piece because we're going up against the door, duh. We gotta cut a straight end on this side. Over here though, our piece meets detail in the corner. So we're gonna have to do a coped corner on this side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut a piece of trim from this inside corner past the door, maybe an inch or two. And we're gonna put a 45-degree angle cut on this side of the piece, and we're gonna put a cope cut on that side because we got detail meeting detail in the corner. All right, so I don't 45 my inside corners. I don't cut inside 45-degree angles. I cope all my corners. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get a quick measurement here from here to here. And that's about 8.5 inches. So I'm gonna cut a piece about 10 inches or so, 10, 11 inches. And we're gonna start to manufacture that cope cut that's gonna go into this corner. So let me go cut that. Okay, so I got myself a piece of trim here, about 11 inches or so. And we know that the right side of that piece is gonna have to be coped. So what you do to make a cope is, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna cut a 45-degree angle on the end that you're gonna cope. So I'm gonna lay this piece in the saw, finish side up, not upside down this time, finish side up, and I'm gonna cut across the piece, putting a 45-degree angle on it. All right, and you end up with something that looks like that. Now, when we cope a piece of trim, because this trim's white, you can see the raw wood on the back side there in the cut. We're going to be following this paint line right up and then into the detail with our cope saw. So basically we have a painted guide that we're going to be using to cope this. All right, and to do that we're going to be using a cope saw. Okay, this is a cope saw. Very skinny, super sharp blade. We're going to be using that to make our cut. All right, so I'm flat down on a cutting table here on some sawhorses, a place where I can press down on my trim and hold it tight and use my cope saw properly. Now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be following, like I said, that paint line right along between the natural wood and the paint. That's my cut line. All right, it's very, very thin, all right, which is why we have a very thin blade, so we can follow detail like that. I'm going to start up at the top and I'm going to come down the detail at the top of the piece first. Now when you start coping, you can either start on a down push or an up pull. All right, I prefer to put my blade in so that my first cut into the wood is on the upstroke. All right, so I'm going to start into my detail very carefully and with quick short strokes. I'm following that trim painted detail. All right, you can see where my blade is in there. Actually, I probably need a cameraman for this, but it's really hard to do this, to show you this without different angles. All right, so I'm working my way around this detail. All right, I'm starting at the top. I worked in at the top of the detail and I'm coming in with short strokes, and you really can't see it. I'm not coming in straight with my blade. I'm on a 45 and I'm back cutting on a 45-degree angle almost as I'm cutting the paint line. All right, you can't just go straight up and down. It needs to be what's called back cut. So I'm on a little bit of a 45, and I'm following that detail around, okay? Move this back a little bit. Following that detail around, and the nice thing about a cope saw blade is it's so thin that you can turn the cope saw and follow that line and just twist it around. So I'm following really, really tight corners here. You can see I just turned on a 90 there and came back in a little bit. Now I'm going to turn it again, and I'm going to cut the rest of the way down that line on a slight 45-degree angle to the piece. All right, I'm just going to work my way down. As you get near the end, slow down because you don't want the top of your blade, the top of your saw to come down and smash your trim. So slow down and just kind of let it fall out. All right, so we followed the paint line around, and if you look at the piece from the side here, you can see that I back cut that a little bit, like a 45, so that we're not straight here. And you can notice it's back cut a little bit. Trying to show you that from all angles there so you know what I meant by back cutting on a little bit of a 45. All right, so that piece now is going to fit right into another piece. All right, so this is the piece against the wall. You can see this piece here comes in and just keys right into that other piece. All right, and the nice thing about coping is if your corner's not perfectly square, okay, if this piece was on a little bit of an angle, you still can rotate that piece a little bit and it still hides a little bit of imperfection in your wall. All right? So that's how it keys in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that back down onto the floor now. I'm not going to measure anything with my tape measure again. I'm just going to take the piece, I'm going to push it in against the other piece, tap it in there a little. See how nice and tight that is there? It's really tight. All right, and then what I'm going to do on this side is I'm just going to mark with my pencil where I want the cut to be. Straight cut. All right, it's going to be somewhere about right there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut straight down on the saw, bring the piece back and see how it fits. And it's okay if you go back to the saw 2 or 3 times. I put this side in first, and then what I like to do is I like to tap it in. Just tap it in like this. You can see how nice and perfectly tight that is with our cope, and this side over here, there's no gap between the door casing and the base. Nice and tight, tight to the wall. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing over here. We're going to measure from here down to that corner down there. All right, we're going to go from the corner down there back up to here. We'll get a measurement on this one here because I can't stick this one in there like I did the other one. So I'm going to measure out of the corner. Then I'll come past my inside corner here a couple inches. I'll make it probably like 61 inches. And then what we'll do is we'll cut a 45 on this side of our piece. We'll cope it, and then we'll come back and I'll show you how I'm going to finish this up here. Straight off. All right, so here's our piece, and we know that our cope needs to be on this side, so I'm going to lay this down to the saw, finish side up, put my saw back on that 45 again. Well, actually, this time what I'll do is I'll do it the other way. I'll show you both ways. I'll cut a 45 on it using the saw straight up and down. All right, so we'll put it in the saw this way this time. Turn our saw on a 45. And we'll cut down this way. All right, that's the other way to cut those. And this time I'll be starting on the long run first and working up to my detail. I mean, I could come in this way or I could come in this way, whichever way you feel comfortable. All right? I could come back in this way, which I will. We'll start on the small detail again. I'm going to back cut on a 45. Follow my detail around. All right. Turn my blade a little and we'll cut the whole way down. Get to the end, slow down. Alright. So there's our cope again. Back cut a little bit on a 45. All right, now what we're going to have to do this time, I'm going to have to take a measure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure off of the cope cut into the corner. All right, the piece that I'm going into, the piece I'm coping into, I put it on the flat part of that piece of trim. Measure into the corner. I'm getting 59 1/8. All right, now since I measured off of that piece of trim in the corner, I have to measure off of my cope cut, okay? Off at this part. I don't measure on the end, I measure off the cope cut, because that's what's going to meet that piece I just had my tape up against. And we're going to come out 59 1/8. Make a mark, 59 1/8. We're going to cut that straight off. Alright, so this should be our piece. Now I'm going to insert this piece the same way I did the last time. I'm going to put it up against my flat surface first, and then I'm going to tap it in. And there you can see your cope fits nice against your other piece, and up this end here, we're tight in the corner. All right, so that piece is ready to go. You can see I've got a gap underneath here of about 3/16 of an inch in the middle. I'm tight on the floor on this side. I'm tight on the floor up in this corner, but I've got this piece in the middle here that's sticking up. You can do two things. You can keep it this way, and you can apply shoe molding along the bottom to cover that gap, or you can push your piece down and bow it down to the floor and pin it. All right? So I'm going to push this down as tight as I can with my hand and pin that there. All right, you can see how I push that down, and now I'm tight to the floor. Go ahead and nail this corner. All right. Push down again here. Got a little gap there. You can see where I'm nailing. I'm not nailing up in the detail. I'm nailing on the flat part of the case of the trim. About 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch, 1/2 inch up from the floor, and down from that detail about 1/4 of an inch. Top and bottom. Okay, all right, so there we have 2 inside corners, 2 outside corners, and 2 straight cuts, one up against the door casing and one down there that meets the corner. Now my next piece, we'll have a straight cut against the door, and we'll have that same situation again where I'll cut a piece about 2 inches longer, cope the left side after I put my 45 on, fit it in there, tap it in, and then make a pencil mark against my casing and cut the flat off. And that's pretty much all you're ever really going to need to know about trim. For 95% of the cuts and trim that you're going to do in a basement are going to be based on what I just taught you right there. All right, 95% of everything in this entire basement that I'm doing down here is going to be done exactly like I showed you there. Now, on this particular basement, I will show you one other thing. And this is the other 5% that you probably won't have to worry about. I've got angle walls. So I'm gonna have to do an outside angle here, inside angle, inside angle, inside angle. All right, coming around that area of the basement that's just odd shaped. So that's the other 5%. And what you have to do there is you have to find out what your angle is, what your outside angle is, divide it by 2, and that will give you the 2 pieces that when they meet will make that angle. On the inside corners, it's the opposite. Instead of doing outside angles, you'll be doing inside cuts. So you'll have to find out what your inside angle is, and then you'll cut your 2 inside piece angles to meet to make that inside angle. All right, it's always whatever the angle is, whether it's inside or outside corner. Once you find what the angle is, you divide it in half, and that gives you what you'll set your saw at. So if that's a 45-degree angle coming around there, you'll set your saw at half of that, which is 22.5. If that's a 60-degree angle, you'll set your saw for 30 degrees, because 30 and 30 will make the 60. Same on the inside. All right, and the rest of the way around the same thing. And when I get to that there, I'll show you exactly how I'm cutting those and what you can do there to make that job a little easier for you. Okay, so those outside angles that I was telling you about, those odd angles, inside and outside angles I was talking about, we had a 36, which was 2 18s together on an inside corner. We had a 50-degree inside corner, which was 25 and 25. We had a 52-degree inside corner, which was 26 and 26. And a 54-degree outside corner, which I cut 2 27-degree. 27 and 27 is 54, yeah. 27-degree for the outside corner. So let me spin the camera around here and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. Now, I'm not going to show you any finding the angles. You need an angle finder to do that, or just make pattern pieces and take them back to the saw a few times until you get your pattern pieces right. Just, you know, some scrap pieces, get your angles right, and then cut it on your finished trim once you discover what the angles are using your scrap pieces. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so I'm on my outside corner right now. I went back to the saw a couple times. I just use pattern pieces, guys, because I don't have my angle finder with me here today. But this outside corner is 54 degrees, and the reason I know that is I have my angles cut now on my 2 joining pieces, and these are 27-degree angles. And when I slide them out here to the apex, to the corner, okay, you can see that when I push them in there, we have a perfect miter in the corner. All right, a 54-degree outside corner needs 2 27-degree angle cuts to form that apex out there, to give you a perfect fit. And that's pretty close. I'm very happy with that. All right, those are your outside corners. Now this was an inside corner, and you can see the one piece has an inside angle cut on it. This was a 52-degree angle inside corner, and that's a 26-degree miter. All right, so both sides would be 26-degree inside angle cuts. All right, and when they join together, they give you something that looks like those over there, okay? Your inside corner miters. It's real simple. You just find whether it's your outside or your inside angle first. You can use scrap pieces, or you can use an angle finder, which they sell at Home Depot. It just bends into the corner, outside or inside, and then you read whatever the angle is, divide that by 2, and then those 2 cuts together will give you the angle that the angle finder just discovered for you. If not, you can just get scrap pieces of wood like I did, get them close, take them back to the saw a couple times until you get the exact angle on your scrap pieces, and then transfer your angles to your finished pieces, and that's how you get it. So real simple, not rocket science. Just find your angle and divide it in half and cut those angles. All right, so I hope that helped you out with your trim cuts, with your copes, with your inside copes, with your outside 45-degree miters. Real simple stuff, guys, not rocket science. I'm Eddie Case. If you like this video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that helps out our channel. And if you haven't subscribed to the Basement Finishing Man channel yet, please do. I got a lot more good videos like this coming to help you with your basement project. And don't forget to hit that notification bell. All right, if you hit the notification bell when you subscribe, every time that I put out a new video, you'll get a saying that Eddie's got a new video, and you can check it out. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.